everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a wrap up and this is going to be a big one. I already apologize for all my jabbering. I think we just need to get this done because I haven't spoken about my December wrap up or the books that I read in December really at all. It's going to be a December and January wrap up. Go ahead and start with the stats. For December, I read 2,891 pages. I read 2 romances, 3 dark romances, 1 thriller, and 4 romantasy. So that is 10 books in total. I thought it was a pretty good month considering my partner was here. It was Christmas, it was festive season, but I did still prioritize my reading. I did also DNF one. I didn't want to say that, but I think I should just mention it because there's a reason why I DNF'd it. Let's go ahead and just go through all my December reads and then we'll move into January. So the first book I started my month off with was Cross by Emily McIntyre, and this is part of the Never After series, and it's all like dark Disney retellings, but it's like dark romance as well. And unfortunately this contained a subject that I don't particularly enjoy reading about, and it is a retelling of the Hunchback of Notre Dame. So there's a priest in it, but it just felt very blasphemous. And I mean, we all use blasphemy sometime, but it was just to the extreme where I couldn't fathom reading it anymore. We have our main female character, I think her name was Esmeralda as well, or that was her stripper name, something like that. She was a stripper and she has a stepdad who is like a creep, and he literally won't sleep with her. And then this priest comes into town and he's trying to get the town in order again, but he also has a crazy obsession with her, and that's where I got up to. I think I got up to page 80 and I was like, no, I can't, I'm not enjoying this. I don't want a priest pining after a stripper. That's not my idea of a good time. So unfortunately I had to DNF it. There is one book left in the series called Hex, which I will try, which is an Ariel retelling, but honestly Crossed was not for me. Hunchback of Notre Dame was never my favorite book anyway in the Disney series. I didn't love it, but yeah, that just nailed it in for me, and I was like, absolutely not. I can't do this. The following book I read was kind of an audiobook, more so an audiobook. I did follow her slightly along. It was majority an audiobook for my walks, and this was a straight up romance, or contemporary romance shall I say, which is not my favorite. I don't particularly like the genre. I find it very mundane and boring, and for me reading is escapism. I don't want to read about everybody's like real life and love life. Like, I just don't find that interesting personally. But anyway, I read My Darling Jane, which I think is supposed to be like a sports romance because we have our main female character Jane, and she is a librarian slash bookshop owner, co-owner, and she starts a dating site, and it's called like Cupids or something like that. And she goes out one night dressed up as a Cupid to recruit people to her dating site, and she runs into a guy that she actually knows. His brother is married to her sister or something along those lines, and he is a famous baseball player. He kind of tells her that he wants to be recruited, but secretly he really likes her, and they just go on this little journey, which was cute. It was really cute and I enjoyed my time listening to it. It does have a lot of smut in it. I did like the direction it went in, but I'm not sure if you could call it a sports romance because even though he was a professional athlete, it wasn't spoken about too much in the story. There were a couple of references to it, but definitely not like sports. So if you're not into sport, it mostly centered around her business as a consultant for a dating site and running this dating site by herself. Once she got him recruited, that like brought business to an all-time high, but women were dating him for the wrong reasons because he was famous, because he had money. So she runs into some problems with that, but it was really, really interesting, and it ended up being so cute, and I gave that a 3 star. 3 stars good for me. 3 star means I would recommend. I had a good time, but it's just not there. I'll probably never think about it again, and I haven't. Then I read The Guilty Couple. This was in one of my videos, the TBR jar picks my reads. I loved this book. I didn't think I would. I didn't think I needed this in my life, but I really did, and I still think about this quite often. It is about a husband and wife, obviously. Olivia is our main female character, and she was in jail because she was framed by her husband for plotting to murder him. She is let out on like early release for like good behavior and population control in the jails. She has nothing nothing now. Absolutely nothing. Her husband took everything. Her kid, her life is in shambles. So she ends up moving in with her best friend. But her only aim now is just to start building a relationship with her daughter again. And she knows that her husband would have manipulated and told stories to her daughter in order for her daughter not to like her, because she wasn't there for 5 years. She was in jail. It's really, really tough. It's so interesting. It's so interesting. At this point, she's so like over it and just wants her daughter back that she's willing to do anything. And if you've ever watched the movie, it's really old, called Double Jeopardy. It really reminded me of that, and absolutely loved the story. I gave it a 4-star, and I would recommend. It is like more of a domestic thriller, but it's juicy and it's twisty, and I didn't see the ending coming. I'm shocked. You have to read it. You have to read it. It's so good. It's by C.L. Taylor. This is my second book by her. The first one I read was called Strangers. Didn't love that. I think I gave that a 2.5 or a 3-star, but this was great. This is like a 4.5 star, but just because of the mood I was in, I gave it a 4-star. But I got through this super quickly. I basically read it in one sitting. Then unfortunately, this book, it just fell at the wrong time. So I had read A Court of Wings and Ruin, and then I read Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This little baby over here thankfully broke it up, and then I read One Dark Window, and I think at that point I needed a different genre. I needed a change of pace, and unfortunately I know so many people love this, but I just found it meh. I found it really mundane. I feel like there wasn't enough details in there. Like, it was more just centered around Elizabeth, who is our main female character, and her adventure, but there was still so much world building and politics and things that I feel like she could have put in here. The romance was slow burn, but like at some point it's too slow. And I liked the magic system, which was like based on like tarot cards. For me, it wasn't fleshed out enough. I just didn't get enough. After reading like a 600-page book, like A Court of Wings and Ruin, this just fell short to me. I was like, why is there not more detail? I need to understand this. Why isn't this described? So it is about Elspeth, who lives in a place called Blunder, and Blunder has been plagued with these plagues. They've been plagued with plagues. So there's a sickness that the mist carries, and it basically turns your veins black, and then you possess magic. The king doesn't want anybody to possess this magic because for some reason it can degrade like your mind, or it ends up killing you. He just doesn't want anybody having higher magical powers than he does, because in this society they possess cards. They're like tarot cards, and each card can give you an ability by like tapping it and tapping out of it. This king is like, he just is culling everybody. It sounds like a great adventure, but there's this nightmare as well that's in her head and talks to her, and he talks in like riddles, but the riddles were so juvenile. I literally was rolling my eyes. It had no place in the story, in my opinion. It wasn't my favorite. I did love the male character named Raven. He was my favorite part. When he was in the scenes, I was enjoying it, but otherwise I just found it super boring, in my opinion. I am still gonna read the second book, which is called Two Twisted Crowns, and hopefully that will change, but I just need to make sure that I am in the right mood. But I gave this a 3-star. Next, I finished up the Mindfuck series. So I read book 3, 4, and 5. They are all novellas which are compiled to make up one book, one big book. But I read number 1 and 2. I think I read number 2 in a readathon. I loved it. I thought it was great, but it's more like together I'd say it's a 3.5-star series. It's very bingeable, very interesting, very nerve-wracking, like, because it's about a serial killer who's currently dating an FBI agent who's actually working her case. She doesn't just kill anybody. She's basically got like a hit list, like Game of Thrones. Think of Arya. She's got this hit list of people who done her wrong because she went through something super traumatic when she was younger, around 15, and was basically run out of town. So she's got this hit list of everybody who is involved in the situation. She's just ticking them off by one. But when she meets Logan Bennett, she doesn't want to stop killing. She needs to finish what she's done, but she needs to be a lot more careful because obviously it's her boyfriend and she's the killer. So she's got like secret rooms in her house. It's really interesting, really, really good. So for the third one, which was called Scarlet Angel, I gave that a 3.75. It was really good and I flew through it. Then we had All the Lies, which is book 4. This was like a bridging book, and you could tell it didn't have as much like drama and stuff like that, but it got to a head where I needed to know what was happening. So I picked up the 5th book then immediately after. Book 4 I gave 3.5 stars to, and then Paint It All Red, which was the last book, I actually gave a 4 star to. I loved the ending. I loved the way she summed up everything and just tied it all up into a nice little bow. It was really funny, and I would definitely recommend it. It's very quick, very easy to understand, and very, very bingeable. It does again contain smut, but not like crazy dark romance smut actually. It's just normal. But yeah, very, very interesting, very cool concept, and I absolutely ate it up. Following that, I read, I think she is a debut author. I'm not 100% sure, but her name is Soraya Wilson, and I read A Tribute of Fire. I just saw it pop up on my Kindle app, and I ended up downloading it, and it was actually a fantasy. So I can't really explain the concept of it because I was literally in a whirlwind. We have our main female character named Leah, and she comes from an area called Logrist, and she is the princess of this town. And every year they sacrifice 2 maidens to go to the mainland called Ilion to sacrifice themselves for this goddess, and they have to do a temple run, so running from the dock all the way to the temples through these mazes to get to the temple, but no one's ever made it in a millennia or something like that. No one's ever made it. Leah has actually practiced, and she put her name into the lottery in order to get this because she wants to win back the eye of the goddess so that she can restore her country or the desert and make thingy. But because there's 2 maidens, the second name drawn is actually one of her sisters, and her sister's very meek, very mild, and she's so worried about her entering this competition. They travel across lands, they encounter dragons and pirates, and honestly it was such a good story, and I cannot wait until the next book comes out. I gave this a 4.5 stars. So good. I'm not sure if it's a debut novel though. I really don't know, but I need to look that up because I really enjoyed her writing. I did do audio and reading it on my Kindle, so it was a bit of both. So I think that just created a better environment for me to immerse myself in, but it was so good. The challenges, the temple descriptions, the goddess descriptions, and I feel like there's some sort of magic there because it is fantasy, but it hasn't really opened up that far yet. Unfortunately, I decided to pick up a Tessa Bailey book as well. I thought it was nice and short, fairly easy. The writing is minute, firstly. Secondly, what is this? What is this? Honestly, I don't mean to be rude. I did read the entirety of the book, but I didn't love it. I didn't love my time reading it. It was very frustrating. It was very like, I don't know, it just tried too hard to be something, but it really wasn't. So it's supposed to be like reverse harem. It is 1 female with 4 males. They meet on a tram. The tram breaks down, and all of a sudden, all of them are in love with her. They're pining after her, and she ends up having a relationship with 4 guys. It was the weirdest story I've ever read. It was so frustrating, so surface level. Like, it gave nothing. It gave nothing except an orgy with 4 people. I'm not opposed to smut. I really am not, but I just didn't buy it. I didn't believe the attraction. I didn't really believe the relationship. It was like in a few weeks, they were just like all bucking all the time and just loving life. This was actually atrocious, and I gave this a 2.5. 2.5, I didn't want to give it a 1 star, but 2.5 because there were parts of it I did enjoy and I found really funny. But other than that, what was this? I wish I didn't pick it up. After that, I completed I think it's called The Vicious Lost Boys, that series. I had 1 more book left to read, and I read The Fae Princess. So this is a dark adult Peter Pan retelling. Absolutely love this. This is my guilty pleasure. I would recommend it over and over again. Very short, very sweet, very concise, very spicy, but done well. I really liked it. I don't know, fairies and yeah, that kind of thing. I love it for some reason. I saw a TikTok the other day where some lady was literally like shunned for liking fairy smut. I loved it. It was so good. Ate it up. I don't want to talk too much about it because I've been through it before. Go back and watch my other videos, but I finally finished this book. I really loved it. It followed the 2 Fae princes, obviously, and told their story and how they related to Tinkerbell and their sister Tilly, and how that in turn involved Wendy Darling and Winnie Darling. So yeah, very, very good. I would recommend if you want something short, sweet, and concise, but only if you like a little bit of darker smut. I finished off the month with this little beauty here. I thought I'd read it in December, and it was quite late in December because it is like a Christmassy themed one, I've heard, and I really like this. Okay, it is a novella. It's like just over 200 pages. Loved it. Gave it a 4.5. It was so nice to see them do mundane things. I know I don't love mundane books, but they're still in Valaris, and they're doing very mundane, like Christmassy things, dealing with their feelings, dealing with their friendships, bringing their lives back together after war, and I ate it up. I thought it was a perfect little interlude into the next book. So I would recommend this. If you haven't read the ACOTAR series, you should. Absolutely love that series. I would recommend this. Like I said, I gave it a 4.5. I enjoyed every single second. I think I read it in a single sitting. It was so good. I literally went to the golf club with my fiance and my dad, and I just sat and read this for like 6 hours, and it was absolutely great. So those are all the books that I read in December. Sorry, I know I'm jabbering a lot. I know this, but I mean, you should know this by now. If you clicked on my video, you know your ears are going to be like spoken off. So moving into January. I didn't write down the genres I read. I read mostly fantasy, dystopian, and a couple of romances. I also did DNF one book. The total pages I read for January, which is a lot. It's a lot. 4,458 pages. That's a lot for me, especially in January, but it's like one book series that contributed to the large number of that, which I started off January with. So the first book I read, a series. So the first book I read was Spark of the Everflame. I was just so curious, and this is part of the Kindred Curse series. Book 1, I gave a 4-star to. This was Spark of the Everflame. I really like this. Our main female character, Diem, she is from an area where there's humans and there's descendants. Descendants come from the kindred, and they mated with mortals, gave up their souls so that they could live forever. So we have descendants who are like godlike. They're very beautiful. They're super tall. Their skin is impenetrable. They're just like these people, but they are snobs, and they look down on the humans and the mortals because they think that they are like lesser than. The mortals live in like these little cities that literally is like dilapidated, not looked after. Everybody's struggling, and Diem is a mortal, and she is a healer. She's only a healer because of her mom's influence, but her mom went missing 6 months ago, and no one knows where her mother is. It starts off with a book where her mom is missing. The whole book is centered around like her trying to find and get to the bottom of what happened to her mother. It was really good, really fast paced. Loved it, gave it a 4-star. Then I moved into the second book just because I was so curious, because the first book, it literally ended up on a cliffhanger that I just couldn't ignore. And this I gave a 4.5 star to. I did like all the adventures that they went in, the decisions that she had to make, the discoveries she made about herself, her family, her mother, descendants. So it was really interesting, and I was literally hanging on to her every word. It was very frustrating. A couple of pages I had to like just walk away from the book, because otherwise my Kindle would have been in the swimming pool, because it was that frustrating that I just like threw it away. Diem as a character is very naive, and she's really indecisive. She is also 20 years old, but she reads like a 16-year-old. Then I read the last book that's published, which is number 3, and it's called Heat of the Everflame. This book was so frustrating. It was wash, rinse, repeat every single chapter. The same thing happened. She'd go to another realm, the same thing would happen. Then she'd go to another realm, and the same thing would happen. And I was like, can we not come up with like some different scenarios, some different situations, some different reactions? But I just found Diem so frustrating in this third book. I didn't love it. I gave it a 3-star. Diem as a character didn't grow from book 1. If anything, she kind of regressed. It was like drawing blood from a stone just for her to make a decision. And she's so anti like killing that like people try to kill her, and in turn she won't defend herself. There was a lot of things, and I was so frustrated. I remember speaking to my fiance about it, and I was like, I can't do it. But I just had to finish the book. I couldn't DNF it because I really wanted to know. I don't know if I'll read the 4th book. If it's over 1,000 pages again, probably not, because I cannot sit through all of that. Hopefully Pencoll took some advice from everybody, because I've seen a lot of people disliked it. I was skimming a lot of it. I did like the ending eventually, but the road to get there was long and tedious, and I didn't love it. Then I read Ignite Me. Yeah, this is going to be an upcoming video, so I don't want to tell you too much. You'll know my feeling is in that, but I did give this a 4.5 star. I love the Shatter Me series. You should already know this, but for some reason the first book is the only one that's gotten a 5 life out of me. I just feel like it's going a little bit downhill and a little bit slow and a little bit boring. I still love the writing style. I love everything. I love Juliet's character development, and that's all I'm gonna say. But there's a reading vlog coming up on this probably after this video, so yeah, you'll definitely hear more about this then. Then I did another audiobook. So I've heard a lot about Rebecca Yarros because of Forced Wing, but I didn't know she wrote so much contemporary romance or like slash war romance. I didn't know, so I thought I'd just try one out, and I saw Variations came out, and you get like a $2 gift if you download the book. But anyway, I did that, listened to it over like maybe 7 days. I didn't love it. It's about, I can't remember the character's name, but our main male character, he works for like the Coast Guard rescuing people, and then there's a ballerina who is somehow related to their childhood, and they end up reconnecting and building this relationship. And it was cute, but it wasn't my favorite type of book. Like I just felt like we took again a lot of roads to get to the outcome of it, and I felt like it was just a bit slow, and I didn't enjoy her writing. I am planning to read Fourth Wing, and I'm hoping it's better than that, but I didn't like her contemporary writing, so I gave that a 3-star. Then this was very random. I don't know why I downloaded it, but it is The Bookstore Wedding, it's called, and it's just a small novella that's like 39 pages. It's about a wedding that happens at the bookstore. There's this bookstore in town, and I don't remember all the characters, I'm not gonna lie to you. There's 3 sisters, and they inherited this bookstore from their mother who died of cancer, and our main female character, she has been trying to get married to her partner for so long, but every time it comes to it, something happens. It was very weird, but it was too short, and I gave it a 2-star. I don't even remember that much. Then I read 2 Harry Potter books. I read the first one, The Philosopher's Stone or The Sorcerer's Stone, depending where you come from, and then I read The Chamber of Secrets. Gave these both 4 stars. I do have a full reading vlog coming up of me reading all of those books, so I'm not going to say too much, but I love it. I love Harry Potter. I love the books. A little bit juvenile, a little bit middle grade, but the series only gets better. I know that, so I love these books. I would recommend. I don't recommend supporting obviously J.K. Rowling, but I got these from my library, but 4 stars each. Absolutely loved it. Next I read a strange one, but this was again for my walk, so it was an audiobook, and it's called Visions of Darkness by A.L. Jackson, and I give this a 3.25 because I did really enjoy it. It's like the movie Inception. So there's 2 teenagers, I can't remember their names again, I'm so terrible. Our main female character and our male character, they meet every night in this dreamland. So when they go to sleep, they go to another realm, and there they fight monsters and they do all these things. But at some point the monsters cross over into the waking day. The rules of this land where they go is kind of that, you know, you never seek out these people that you meet in the dreamlands because it can cause like a imbalance in the equilibrium. But after she is attacked by one of these monsters, he goes out and he tries to find her, and together they fight against the monsters. It was a really cool concept. I really loved the concept of actually meeting in your dreams and then them coming together and the adventure they went through. But all in all, I just feel like again the story wasn't too fleshed out, and I think I'm just a little bit more picky because I am reading a lot more fantasy at the moment, or romantasy shall I say. I just feel like it needed a little bit more. I loved the narration because it had boy and girl voices for both roles, so that was very good. I did enjoy it. It took me quicker to read because I was actually like enthralled every time I listened to it. Then I actually recently finished this. I think I finished it yesterday. It was Crossroads by Devney Perry, and this was another book that I listened to on audio for my walks. This was more like a cowboy romance, you know, like people love, but it wasn't so much centered on cowboyism. Is that a word? It wasn't very centered on that, but it did focus on like a ranch. We have our main female character, India, and she's like super wealthy, like spoiled little girl. And every year they go to Montana to this ranch to stay because her dad is ill, and it's like his thing. He's had cancer for like a few years. He's gone into remission and gone back. So every few years they go to this ranch to have a holiday, like a little family holiday. And she meets the rancher's son, and his name is West, and they become fast friends when they're little, and then they don't see each other for 2 years, and she comes back and they're like, you know, teenagers, and they fight and don't get on, but then they end up like just having this budding relationship. But because they live so far apart, and she's staying with her parents obviously because her dad, and he's set on staying at the ranch because it's what he loves, so eventually something happens and she ends up buying the ranch, but he's kind of blindsided, but she's just getting a divorce. So it was really cute, like the way they got together. December. Like I said, I did give this a 3.5. I don't know if I said it, a 3.5, because I really did like, but like cowboy romance isn't my thing, if I could say so. Oh my gosh, what was this book once again? I found this so frustrating and so boring. I can't even remember what chapter. I think I got to page 100. Yeah, I got to page 130 even when I DNF'd it. This was the most boring, and it was so surface level. This was so shallow, honestly, so shallow. I didn't get it. Like, Rosie meets this guy who moves into her best friend's apartment because her roof caved in, so he's now there on holiday and he's come to stay there. She's very much like, I can't explain her, but she's very, again, indecisive, people pleaser, and she was just so frustrating. And all that she ever thought about was his looks, like, oh, his eyes, oh my gosh, his legs, oh my gosh, his six pack, or it was very shallow, very shallow. And every time he tried to get a little bit deeper with her, she'd shut it down and, you know, keep her feelings to herself. She was so awkward as well, gave me secondhand embarrassment, and I couldn't handle it. I didn't love this book at all. It was so bad, and that's why I DNF'd it. But it's going to be in an upcoming vlog again, so that's all I'm gonna say. My true feelings are in that video, but it's a DNF for me. And then I forgot my other book, so I will just put a little thing on the screen, but I read All the Bright Places. It's going to be in a reading vlog as well by Jen Nevin. I love this book, obviously. I really liked the movie, but then I watched the movie after I completed the book and I didn't feel the same about the movie. I thought the movie was done really badly compared to all the details and the little nuances that were in the book. They just took that away and made it was a little bit more lackluster. The book covers a lot of grief, a lot of like self-harm and things like that, and thoughts of it. It is young adult, but it feels more new adult to me. It hit something deep inside of me, but like I said, it is going to be in a upcoming vlog, but I did give that a 4-star. Those are all the books that I read in December and January. Sorry, this video is going to be so long. I hope you guys stuck it out with me. I'm trying not to do as many wrap-ups, but obviously because I didn't do December or January, I'm going to maybe do it every 2 months and then just sum up 2 months at a time. But with that being said, I have some really exciting vlogs coming up. I'm working really hard on it. I'm pre-filming because obviously wedding is coming on, so sorry if it doesn't always line up, but I am trying my best. But with that being said, I will see you all in my next one. Bye guys.